we go. What do you think of my apartment? Nice little spot, right? I have the side mountain view, nice open big kitchen, nice living room. Right here is one of the bathrooms. This is one of the bedrooms. So it's a two-bedroom apartment. It has also two bathrooms. Nice little side view. But let's start by getting into the video. The title, My Honest Impressions After Many Visits. But let's start by acknowledging what initially drew me to this place, Cape Town. What you're seeing on the screen right there is an older video of one of my first visits to Cape Town, and my initial visit was to see how Carnival was here in South Africa. And if you haven't already, especially if you're coming from a non-African country, check that video out, because I'm pretty sure you didn't know it was a Carnival here in South Africa, in Cape Town as well. Now, after I Googled that, I went ahead and I booked my accommodations. I booked the hotel and I booked my flight. And also at the same time, I booked a flight to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, because I wanted to see the transition between the two countries and also see which one I like more. And by the title of this video and by the amount of videos I have here in Cape Town, I'm pretty sure you know who won that title. Cape Town won hands down of me liking this city, this country, more than I liked Ethiopia. Also, to backtrack, up until this day, none of my South African friends have heard of Carnival here or have been. And some of them say it's bullshit, it's just for tourists. And if you check out that video, my older video of Carnival, I'm pretty sure that they're correct. Let's just say Carnival here isn't like Carnival in Brazil or Cape Verde, Colombia, or anywhere else that has a Carnival. I didn't see the relation, so I'm pretty sure they're right. It's just for some tourist type shit. So that website that I found that it was a Carnival here, they got me. They got me to come here to South Africa, which was a good thing. But I would never visit Carnival here in Cape Town again. I don't really think it's worth the trip just for Carnival. If you're gonna come to South Africa, if you're coming to Cape Town, come because of Cape Town and the things you want to see and do, not because of Carnival. But anyways, my impressions throughout the years have stayed constant and the same. Again, my opinion, I think South Africa is probably one of the top African countries to visit. And I said probably because I have not visited all African countries. And to be honest with you, I don't plan on visiting all African countries. I don't want to. I found a certain amount of countries that I visited so far in the continent of Africa that I like, that I repeat going to, because sometimes it's maybe for a couple of weeks, sometimes it's 2 months. So for a couple of weeks, you cannot really have a deep dive into the culture and to getting to know all about the city that you're in. So I have to keep returning back, and each time I return, I try to discover things that I haven't discovered before. But if anybody out there in YouTube world, have you found an African country that you feel the same way I feel about South Africa? If you have, please let me know. I would like to know what country you have visited that you feel the same way I do about South Africa. And you could be South African, but you visited another country in your continent that you feel that is comparable to your country, South Africa, or you think it's just all around better. Just let me know down in the comment section, because I have not visited a country yet in Africa that has all of Africa, meaning different people from different parts of Africa, all in one place. I'm always impressed by the accommodations. The old saying, what you pay for is what you get, is true. If you're paying a lot of money, especially here in Cape Town, for an apartment, you best believe it's going to be laid out, from the choice of decor, the color scheme like you see right here. I don't know, it's just something about the interior design when it comes to the inside of homes here, not just in Cape Town, but I've seen videos of people that live in Johannesburg, and if you look inside their homes, it's laid out. The color scheme, the choice of furniture. I mean, when it comes to art in general, here, South Africa, they know what they're doing. You could just go around town, go to different boutiques, or even go to the Old Biscuit Mill, and you can find clothing that is not name brand, but it's a private brand by South African. They design everything, and you would probably think that it's a top designer somewhere in Europe somewhere, and it's not. So when it comes to just art in general, not only I was impressed, but you will be impressed also if you visit here. Also, what I noticed back then and what I still notice up until this day is that South Africa is not a cheap place. And what I mean by that is that, yeah, of course, it's cheaper than the US. It's cheaper than Europe. But comparing it to other African countries, it's not a cheap country in Africa. Most definitely not. Especially comparing it to some of the other African countries I visited, South Africa is the most expensive. I would say the cheapest time to come to South Africa, especially Cape Town, would be their winter. Like right now, the apartment I'm paying for is less than half the cost I would pay for if it was, say, late November, December. That's like their summertime. That's when it's hotter. Things go up. I mentioned in another video, I stayed in Camps Bay, and I paid like $3,000 something for an apartment. It was okay, but it wasn't, I don't think, worth $3,000. But I wanted to stay in that area, see how it was, and I saw how it was, especially my pockets did, and I'll probably never stay there again. But that's just an example of how things can cost here. And also, you got to base it on, I'm paying for location. Also, I'm paying for like beach view. So if you're not really thinking about the location, or you don't want to see a beach view, then of course you're going to pay a much cheaper price. But overall, comparing South Africa to other African countries, this is not a cheap place. Also, I've said in other videos, and I've seen other videos of people in South Africa, they kind of mentioned the same thing that I did, which is when you're here in South Africa, it doesn't feel like you're in Africa. And I'm going to compare that also to the other African countries I visited. When I was in Cape Verde, it felt like Africa. In Ethiopia, nice airport. You leave the airport, it feels like Africa. Morocco, it feels like Africa. Mauritius, it feels like India for some reason. We're going to take a little walk, and we're going to talk now about my impressions of the foods here in South Africa, because there's plenty of and a variety of. And just because of that there's a variety of different types of foods here, I think this is a nice place to come if you're a foodie. The other countries I named here in Africa that I visited, when it comes to variety, I always say it's really not there, especially when you're comparing it to South Africa. For example, in Ethiopia, there is no McDonald's. And basically in Ethiopia, there's nothing really westernized when it comes to food chains. Most of the foods there is only Ethiopian food. And there's nothing wrong with that, but with me, at some point, I would get tired of just eating one type of food. So the variety isn't really there. They do have a couple Chinese restaurants, but of course, there's Ethiopian people there making the food, of course. And there's a few Italian restaurants, but that's about it. It's not more than the variety here, is what I'm trying to say. And I was impressed by that. Traveling to a new place you've never been before, for some it can be stressful at some time, but at the same time it could also be fun. The stressful part is just getting there and knowing what you're going to get into when it comes to foods, culture, and all that good stuff. The fun part is seeing and being immersed into the new culture, finding out about all these things. Even when it comes down to their grocery stores, I was impressed. I'm comparing it to the other African countries that I visited. I'm not comparing it to Europe or North America or South America or any other continents. I'm just comparing it to the continent of Africa. And I was very impressed by the amount of grocery chains that they have and just the levels of the grocery store. Like with myself, I like Woolworths. I just like Woolworths. Maybe because different apartments I get, they're always near a Woolworths. Until one time I discovered Pick and Pay. Oh, Pick and Play? I think it's Pick and Pay. And I was impressed by Pick and Pay because of the overall variety of foods they have compared to a Woolworths. Now, with Woolworths, I was impressed by all the foods that they have in that grocery store. For some reason, it looks imitation. It looks like it's fake. It's all glossy and clean, but it's real. And it's very clean in that grocery chain. Everything is neat. Everything is shiny. Then I went to Pick and Pay, and with Pick and Pay, they just have. It's just my opinion. I might be wrong. Correct me if you're South African and you know more about this, of course, than I do. But with Pick and Pay, it just seems that they have overall more variety than other grocery stores, especially Woolworths, because it seems like Woolworths have a lot of Woolworth brand items. I might be wrong. Now, this grocery store I went to today, I just discovered it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's called Quick Spar or Quick Spar. It's a Spar, but it's very small, and they didn't have a lot of variety of items, but it's just convenient to the apartment I have now, and that's the reason I went. And when it comes to apartments, hotels, your accommodations here, I think are top notch, especially if you're paying a lot of money. You're getting top notch. With this apartment, you having like on the side here, you see like vodka and different types of liquor. I don't drink, but just having it there, if I did drink alcohol, is there. So the accommodations here, it's top notch when it comes to you paying a lot of money for a place to stay, whether it's a hotel or apartment. You're getting your money's worth here, in my opinion. And because of that, I was impressed, because there are countries that I visited that you pay a lot of money, and the money that you pay for, you wonder to yourself, like, why the fuck did I pay this amount of money for this piece of shit place? And this happened to me plenty of times, especially in South America. I'm not going to name the country, but you can guess. So yeah, I'm always impressed, especially when I get a new apartment and the accommodations exceed my expectations. Yeah, I'm impressed by that. And my last video, I mentioned about coming during winter season, which it is right now. At night, it gets very cold. So it's up to you to make that choice of getting a hotel, which most have control heat there, that you can't control it, but it's controlled by the staff inside the hotel. Or you can be like me, the oddball, and you want more privacy, you just get an apartment. But again, best believe 9 times out of 10, there's no heat. They might provide you with like a little space heater to keep your ass warm at night, especially at night. Other than that, it's no heat. Also, a little side note, this isn't something I was impressed by, but most bathrooms in South Africa, there is no electronic plug, especially if you're a guy coming from the US or even Europe. When you're used to shaving with your electronic shaver in the bathroom, you're not going to be doing none of that here, unless you have an extra like outlet that you can plug into, hopefully your bedroom or somewhere outside of the bathroom, and drag that cord all the way into the bathroom to be able to shave. Or you could just do what I do, which is use my iPhone, put it in video mode, and I shave like in the living room or in the fucking kitchen, because there's no electronic plug for you to do that inside the bathroom. I don't know why they do it here in South Africa. Some people have told me it's like a precaution, so you want to like electrocute yourself, because water in the sink and all that stuff. But I'm like, what the fuck? And last, my honest impressions over the years when it comes to dating here in South Africa, I think that probably deserves just a video by itself, because it's so intricate. Overall, it's been a journey. Dating here is, to me, it's like dating back home, and I'll get more into that in probably like a standalone video. But now I'm preparing to meet my friend for dinner. She had asked me to bring her some sour candy from the US, so I got her shitloads of bags of different type of sour candies. I know in the long run, maybe it's gonna fuck up her teeth, because you never know what you get, especially in the US. But thanks for watching.
I mean, it's so interesting.
Well, I started doing that along